Welcome, Come On You Spurs TV, where we talk about everything Spurs. Today we are previewing the match against Villa at Villa Park. Tottenham travel to Villa as guests in one of the 3 o'clock kickoffs on Saturday afternoon. With me today to discuss the ins and outs, form guide, team news, injuries, and plenty of banter and rumors. We've got Chuma on the other line. Sorry, on the other side. In the meantime, come on, you Spurs. Welcome back. Chuma, thank you for joining us. How are you?
Oh, I'm abundantly blessed. I'm really, really happy to be here today. Come on, you Spurs Nation. Yeah, just it's the start of another wonderful week leading up to this game. Let's see what we can do.
Fantastic. If it's your first time here, this is Come On You Spurs TV. Hit the subscribe button. We want to say a big thank you to all of those who are supporting us. I know it's a small milestone, but hey, this is how things grow. We've got up to 200 subscribers. We need to grow that channel. So yes, keep your subscriptions coming in, keep your likes coming in, your comments. They all help the algorithms and things that, all these things that in the background that make things grow. So yes, please leave your comments. I know a lot of people come up to me and say, oh wow, you guys are doing a really good job. I said, have you commented? Have you left it? Have you left it? All these things help us, I love to see your comments on here as well.
Yeah.
As much as I appreciate them when you tell me off air, it also helps if you also tell us on here how you think we're doing. Either good or bad, we welcome all the comments, Yes, thank you so much. Even if you're not a Tottenham fan, we'll love to see you here as well, okay? Right, welcome back. Like I said, this is Come On You Spurs TV. We want to preview this match, and this is one of these matches when 3 more matches to go to the end of the season. Everyone's looking up to, all the positions that, top 4 Europa places. In theory, we can still make top 4, in theory, right? However, realistically, it looks like a gone thing. Now, the reason I say that in theory is this, right? Who would have thought that in the last few games, Man United will lose the games that they've lost? Brighton lost to Everton 5-1 at home. I mean, considering how well Brighton have been doing, it wasn't on the cards at all, And they go away to Arsenal, right? I mean, come on. What much I'd love Arsenal to lose, I think the best thing that could happen from a Tottenham perspective is if they both lost.
Well, I think it depends on what you're looking for as a Tottenham fan. If you're looking at us not qualifying for the quote-unquote dreaded Europa Conference League, then yes. For me, I don't care what European competition we qualify for. I see it as an opportunity for the next manager to stamp himself or blood in a lot of young players. We're having a situation at Tottenham where a lot of our young players are leaving, they're signing for other clubs, and because of the lack of opportunity, and these used to be the competitions where you see like a Tom Carroll, Ryan Mason was the interim coach now. He was a bit part player as well. He would be in Europa League. So I don't really mind. I just want us to finish well. Give us some momentum going into the summer. And that's the be all and end all for me. I don't really mind where we finish.
Yeah, I mean, I guess from a playing for pride perspective, you want to finish as high as possible. I mean, that's what most teams want to do in the league. I mean, obviously, if we finish in the top 4 places, it would be an absolute big bonus, play the Champions League as well. But I guess there are those who say we need to have a reset. We need to, have plenty of rethinking in the squad setup, and the whole team needs a total, what am I calling a revamp. But I would probably just take the what you might call middle of the ground position. And I say that for a number of reasons, right? If we think of what everyone was saying at the beginning of the season, right? As to because from on paper we had world class coach, you know, good squad, and very good prospect for the start of the season. Maybe not win it, but at least compete very strongly for the top four. Everyone was taking us for top four, like easy peasy, considering where we came from the previous season. And obviously, we actually strengthened our squad. And if you look at the way we strengthened the squad, okay, bar maybe one or two positions, we actually thought we did well in the market. We bought a new goalkeeper. Well, second, Foster came in, Longley came in, Perisic came in, Bissouma came in, and Richarlison came in as well. I mean, so it wasn't, and we also got Udogie who went out on loan, Jed Spence, so the whole place was buzzing with activity. So from point of view of the squad, I mean, you didn't see that squad not doing well coming this season. You even had Papa Matissa come in, and yeah, so it was quite a big squad rejigging. Some people say that okay, maybe he didn't get his first choice, but no doubt about it. There were some quality players in that squad. I mean, if you want to take an objective perspective, I mean, okay, granted things haven't gone the way we expected them to go, but I don't think it was. It's down to the quality of the squad. I think it's down to maybe a lot of things didn't go right. The tactics didn't quite work out well in some instances. We had plenty of injuries and a lot of disruption to the style. But overall, I think if we get a new manager and of course who can work with that squad, maybe add a few more people to what we have, maybe in the central defense. We're not that far off. I mean, if I don't know. People, your views are welcome if you're watching this. I'd love to hear from you and tell me what you think. Chuma, what do you think?
Well, I agree with you. I agree with majority of everything you said right now because for me, I started the season. I was very optimistic. However, when we started having that habit of second half comebacks, it started sowing seeds of doubt into my mind. And one of the seeds of doubt is this: I've always been of the opinion, and I've always stated it everywhere I've gone. Reactive football, which is waiting for your opponent to cause some kind of problem where you can capitalize on a turnover and attack them, as opposed to controlling the game, imposing your will, which is proactive. Proactive football is virtually attacking football. That's what it really is. And reactive football is defensive or counter-attacking football. If you play counter-attacking football, in my opinion, you have to be damn near perfect to score goals and to win games. It also gets easily found out by other teams, and it's more or less leaving your team at the mercy of the other team, regardless of how good they are. And if the team is really good in possession and in moving the ball about, you will get hurt. However, if the team isn't, if the team is kind of poor, you can really take advantage of them. But like I said, the analysis of your team can easily be made and they can find chinks in your armor. You will win some games. You could really win well, especially if you got quality players. And that's one thing Spurs have always been blessed with. We are blessed with a very top notch front line. Harry Kane, Son Heung-min, Kulusevski as well came in to add to that. We have guys, and then we tooled up by getting Richarlison, like you said. So our front line wasn't really the problem. The real issue has always been defense and midfield in those sets of circumstances. And it's very interesting as you started the show, you mentioned Brighton and Everton. So Everton won the game 5-1, playing a counter-attacking reactive style to Brighton, which is proves my point. You can win some of those games, but if Everton and Brighton play 10 times, most times Brighton will win at least 8 of those games. But you have those two, and that's, I think, what happened to Spurs this year. And all it needed was some kind of adaptation. I don't believe in the narrative that, oh, he didn't get the players he wanted, he didn't get this, he didn't get that. No, he had everything he needed. The problem was the other teams learned to adapt to his system. They understood how to block him off from the goal, playing out from the back, They knew how to be on top of his midfield, outnumber his midfield. So many things they did. Antonio Conte never reacted to those things. And his reaction was, I need players. I need this. I need that. And if I don't get it, it's almost now, looking at it now in hindsight, like he was trying to spite the club by not trying to adapt in the first place to prove a point. And we as fans have suffered it, and the players have suffered in terms of results. Yes, sometimes you can say the players didn't do as well as expected, but in my personal belief, he could have taken those guys we had at the start of the season to do more. We should be top three, top four, in my opinion. But that's not how it panned out.
Very, very interesting. And I honestly, I mean, you're going to have all sorts of views when it comes to things like this on the Spurs forum. I think a lot of negativity has gone out in the club. I mean, over the last few months, especially just before contest exits and Stellini's appointment, and I think Ryan Mason seems to be like a breath of fresh air. I mean, he's had what 3 games now. It's going to be his 4th game in charge, and it's won one, drawn one, and lost one. And the general belief is that all those 3 games he's done is pretty acquitted himself really well as a manager. You know, being adaptable, changing the style when needed, and players have really taken to him. I mean, at least in the few matches that we've seen him take charge of. From a we'll come back to that over the course of this preview. But I mean, just to say before we sort of look at it in a bit more detail, if we had a choice between we didn't find our first choice or first choice person that we're looking for, at least, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of rumors about Nagelsmann and a few other names in the pot. I mean, in the running. I mean, it looks like companies out of the running now, considering that he's just signed a new contract.
And Jabi Alonso as well.
All right. Okay. So there you go.
So 2 of them are out now, virtually.
Right. So we've got Nagelsmann and a slot, and I mean, those are the rumors. According to rumors, making the rounds at the moment. So, assuming we don't get any of our major targets, I mean, what do you think of Ryan Mason? I mean, and before you answer that, I'll influence you by saying that. Well, I expect my perspective. I mean, I never knew I'd be saying this, but I actually like my Ryan Mason, and the reason I like him is this, right? He's 31 years old, and he talks with such confidence, right? And not just confidence, and the way he is on the touchline, you just think that this guy knows what he's doing. He's made changes that actually make sense, and he's using the same players that everyone was saying were not up to scratch, and he's using them in a way to be being effective. I'm thinking to myself, look at him against Liverpool. Look at him against Man United. These are the top teams in the league. Well, okay, maybe not so much this season, but at least on paper, those are the teams that everyone wants to beat or wants to compete against, right? And we've gone to those matches. Granted, we lost at Liverpool, but that loss felt like a win in a fun sort of way because of the way we acquitted ourselves in that match, going 3 goals down and coming back to 3-3 and almost nicking it as well, And okay, ended up losing to someone's faux pas. Unfortunate for Lucas. I like Lucas, by the way, hero in Amsterdam, got us to the final Champions League. I mean, he will always be a hero regardless of what happened at Liverpool. So don't worry, hold your head up, Lucas. I'm not one of those who's going to have a go at you. But yes, these things happen in football. But so what I'm saying essentially is that I rate Ryan Mason. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I'm in your camp as well. I was listening to something the other day that I found very fascinating, where the guy who was hosting the podcast mentioned the fact that a lot of very good coaches whose football playing careers ended very early. They make very good coaches. And I give you a case in back in the day, Brian Clough. Brian Clough was top scorer in the English league for like 2 out of 3 years of his profession, and his career ended when he was like 27.
Mm-hmm.
He'd gotten England caps, then they broke his knee, and he was forced into management at 28. And look at Brian Clough. First guy took a team from virtually the championship to the Premier League of sorts then. then won the league in his first year. The next year won the Champions League, defended his Champions League. This is a guy who was a former player, so they have some kind of advantage because I think the way I reason it is they were so professional as football players. And now this dream has gone. They apply that same discipline as opposed to players who play to the end of their careers. They're now relaxing first and then going into management. Or, they're not going with that same hunger. They're just like, oh, it's a natural. These guys are hungry because they know the career that was robbed. They were robbed of, So you look at it that way. And for me, it's like, that's how Ryan Mason is. And I think Ryan Mason was a very good professional. Watching him at Spurs when Pochettino took over, he really grew. He really became a very, very good player. He became excellent to his level. I think he reached the peak of his powers. Like I always admire people who get to become the best versions of themselves. Now, the best version of yourself necessarily doesn't have to be an A plus or anything. It could be C, but you got to that C and you did it very well. And nothing he's done has surprised me. And I think, I'm still Team Nagelsmann. I know what we can achieve under Julian Nagelsmann. But if we can't get him, I'm not really keen on Slot. I like Slot, but I'm not really keen on him. I wouldn't mind Ryan Mason. And I said, the team, our rivals down the road, took Arteta, who was coaching, not assistant manager of Man City. They're always conflating that piece of information. He wasn't the assistant manager at City. He was the coach, first team coach. And look at him now, given some years. But already, you see Ryan Mason, he's already tapping into things. There are a lot of advancements in coaching, but you can see it already. Back three to back four out of possession. Back three, you're just all the moves he's making. For me, it tells me, and when I listen to his press conferences, the confidence he has in answering questions directly, the questions that don't concern the particular point we are at this season, he just backs away from. I'm very, very impressed. Very impressed.
I mean, honestly, I think we're on the same page in that respect. All right, so welcome. This is ComeonyespursTV. If you're here for the first time, subscribe to the channel, click on the like button, and leave a comment. Yeah, we'd very much love to hear from you on choice of next manager. I mean, we just discussed that ahead of a match against Villa. I mean, I know Villa have been in some really good form coming up to this match, and I mean, it's very difficult to how you thinking about where we're at and where they're at. I mean, they got Unai Emery, who's done a really decent job so far. I mean, I can't really fault him at all. It's been really, really good, and I'm thinking to myself, what do we do in this sort of situation? I mean, are we? You think we've got a chance, or do you think? I mean, he's gonna what? I mean, roll us over. What do you think?
well, I outside of him being an Arsenal manager, I like Unai Emery. I think he's a very, very smart guy. I think he plays. He likes to keep his teams tight defensively. He doesn't like to concede. So he plays this whole thing. But the only advantage I can see Spurs having is the fact that Unai Emery believes in two central midfield players. He doesn't play three. I don't know if he will play 4-3-3. He hasn't. He plays the 4-4-2 mostly. He doesn't have wingers. His wingers come inside. So it's his fullbacks that give him his width. So for me, once you have two midfielders and you're not outnumbering Spurs have a chance. He's going to have a lot more, or he could play wide wingers but he's playing Traore and some other people there. So I don't really think. I think if Spurs are not outnumbered in midfield, and our midfield can move the ball quick, or Kane drops in to help, and we have very formidable guys in attack, I think I personally think Spurs can nick this game. At worst, a draw, but I don't really see a loss unless if they have a quick start. Like we were saying in the last match, we were all celebrating after 15 minutes when we didn't concede. 25 minutes we didn't concede. We were all high-fiving each other because as everyone knows out there in Common Spurs Nation, that Spurs had this habit of conceding first 20 minutes.
Again? Remind me, Crystal Palace.
Oh. Yeah. Once Palace went past 15 minutes, there was celebration online. Like, we went 15 minutes, no goals. 20 minutes, no goals. And it was up until Kane scored, they're like, okay, we scored first, wonderful, you know. But the first 20 minutes, I think will be crucial, and because they're also playing at home, Villa Park is a very very loud stadium. Their fans are very very passionate as well, and you know, right. So last season we went there and butchered them 4. They were playing under Gerrard, though, so they're a bit open, and we counter-attacked to perfection. You know, now we're not going to counter-attack, but I'll be very keen to see what Ryan Mason wants to do, and also regarding our personnel, who's going to play, who's not going to play. I think if he was fully fit, I would have risked Basuma. I know we're going to talk about lineups later, but I would
Yeah.
have risked him. But I
Let,
don't know.
let's just have a quick look at the form guide. I mean, if you look at it, okay, so it's a little bit deceptive in some ways because if you think about it, okay, we've won 2, drawn 1, and lost 3. Now,
Mm,
Villa seem to be on a good run up to the match against Man United when they lost and also lost to Wolves, being a derby match, you know.
mm,
Um, so they've won 3, drawn 1, and lost 2. So, I mean, okay, if we look at our own matches against Man U, Liverpool, and Crystal Palace, I think the games that the way the matches went, I mean, as in if you look at actually what the match or what those matches,
mm,
right? So, I mean, you probably felt that we actually stood a chance of winning those games, you know, given the way we performed in those last 3 games, you know. I think it was a little bit unlucky on our part in some ways. I mean, to have lost and even drawn Man United. I mean, even though again match would have gone either way as well because I mean they had a few chances to make it 3-1, and for some reason the ball didn't go in. But we also had chances as well to not just equalize, but also obviously go ahead as well. So yeah, I mean it's one of those really. So yeah, I mean both teams, especially what's the word, Villa, uh, on a good run, and I think. But we've had a very good record in Villa in the last few years. I mean, you know, we always seem to win anytime we go there. So I'll back us back us up to
I'm just wary of their manager because the coaches they had played into our hands. Unai Emery has a very very good record against us. A
yes,
very good record. So I think that plays in as well. You know, he has his confidence and he can always tell his players, look, you know, this is the thing. I own these guys. so so that plays into your head mentally as well. That this guy who always wins against Tottenham always wins. Like it's not even draws. It's like I think it's mostly wins he just has against us. So you know, and I think we were also riding high in the reverse fixture back home, and they dented us. They won at our house, if I'm not mistaken. They
yeah,
won at
yeah,
whatever
the
Tottenham
one. I
Hotspur
mean, I
Stadium.
think granted we had a few errors, Clang as
Yeah,
well.
we had yeah. It was one of those games where we just like we were meant to win that game, and
Yeah,
then we just that was one of those games that wonderful 3 points lost completely. But if you look at it also like their last 3 games, they've won one and lost 2. We have won one, drawn one, lost one. So we are actually coming in with more form, and we won recently.
absolutely.
So there are different ways of looking at it. You could say, yeah, they've been on a good run, but their good run was like what 3, 4 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're going on the last 2 weeks, I'm sorry, there there are 2 L's to our one, and our one could have been a draw, but for the mistake Lucas made. But for Lucas's mistake, that could have been a draw. And like I said, we're coming in. I think we're coming in with better form, and I think there's just something about the victory over Palace last week and what it's done mentally for the players.
Absolutely.
I think it plays a part.
I think you're probably right. I mean, I think all right. So one of the things we'll be looking at is I'm not sure. I mean, maybe the formation and things that he will probably end up doing in this match because he did some really lovely things in the last match, and I think to myself, wow. I mean, that was absolutely fantastic in terms of how he set the team up. I think, I mean, we, from in terms of injuries, I mean, one of the things, I mean, probably, I don't know, we have what Lloris is still injured, and also what's the word?
Session as well.
Session still injured, so
Session is injured.
more or less have a full lineup to choose from. Given the fact that we have, I mean, Longley was injured a little bit.
Yeah, his shoulder. He had the
Yeah,
shoulder.
he
Shoulder.
had the shoulder injuries, but he trained during the week, so
Yeah.
it's one of these things when, I mean, I don't know, we'll probably see how what I mean, according to Mr. Mason, you probably, I mean, see how that goes, you know. But he had an interesting one. I mean, the way the team was set up against Crystal Palace, a lot of people had plenty of surprises and got away with it. You know, I mean, what do you think of that? I mean, that was a
It was the best. It is what we've been screaming for all season, which is okay, I know you don't have the players you want. This is what we're screaming at Antonio Conte about. And I have the highest respect for Antonio Conte. I'm someone who respects him. I'm someone who respects him tactically as well for what he's done in Italy, what he did at Chelsea. However, he kept on reiterating in press conferences that Tottenham are different from those clubs he's managed. So he has to do some things differently. Unfortunately, he didn't. He actually tried to do exactly what he did in those clubs, and it didn't work. Which was you have players that don't fit your rigid system, then try to adapt them or adapt your formation or your set of tactics to make them better. Everybody and their uncle will tell you that no one's been fond of Emerson Royale as a wing back. However, you can't fault him for effort and defensive, his defensive demeanor and positioning has always been very, very good. Ryan Mason tapped into that by saying, look, you can play as a right back. As soon as we go into attack, Pedro Porro turns to a wing back. You slot into defense to make part of three centre backs, and it was brilliant. Three centre backs in thing, keeping Christian Romero, which someone wrote there that Romero. I can't remember what someone wrote on the WhatsApp group. Someone said something about Romero is a right centre back, and I agree. He can play right centre back, but we bought him playing central centre back at Atalanta. It keeps him away from trouble. He when he's underlapping and moving too much, but he was so focused there. And then it just did so many things. Having Emerson by his side, Emerson could bring the ball out a bit more. Pedro Porro just didn't have to concentrate on defending.
Let's have a look at what options we've got. Okay, so clearly from the goalkeeping side, I mean, Mr. Loris is not fit, so probably have Foster there, right?
Foster substitute is the young man Austin, I think.
Yes. Let's have a look. So yes, so we have Foster there in that position, right? Yeah. And then the back three will probably be again what we had the last time. Emerson.
Yeah.
Emerson coming in, unbelievable, eh?
No, it's not unbelievable. It's not.
No, let me just put a bit of context.
It's not unbelievable. That's the reason why.
I'll put a bit of context into it, and it will make more sense when you hear this, right? So think of it this way: at the beginning of the season, right? If you had to choose between Emerson and Dyer, who would you choose?
I wouldn't. I actually, my opinion on Dyer. I've always said that I wanted Dyer to go to midfield. So I actually think both players were positionally wrong for Tottenham.
Okay, but I mean, assuming you had to choose.
You mean in terms of play? Yeah. In terms of play, I did. Yeah, I didn't want Dyer. I didn't want Emerson Royale in the team.
This is it. So now, isn't it ironic that now he's taking the place of Dyer in that team because in that back three, because Romero has moved to the center, right? And he now takes the right hand role where Romero was, right? So it's amazing how things turn around very, very quickly. I guess maybe that's only one match. I mean, I don't know what Mason's going to come up with for the match on Saturday, but I would like to think that he will maintain the same system. We'll see, yeah. But let's just go with the fact that Dyer will still play on the bench.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fine. I'll argue this bit though. When we bought Emerson Royale, we bought him as a right back from Betis, where he had very, very good defensive stats. Eric Dyer has never had the greatest defensive stats playing centre back for Tottenham.
Right. So
historically, you look at it.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So presumably Sanchez wouldn't play either. So yes, we'll take him off there, and then we'll have
Yeah,
Ronaldo.
I don't know. I don't know if he would return Dyer if Longley wasn't fit. That's the only thing. I think Dyer's press is so bad, and I think Mason is aware of it as well. That look, nobody wants to see this guy play. The thing about it is, it's very funny, but people have been saying that Mason probably listens to a lot of podcasts on Tottenham, and he probably watches a lot of things where he's hearing things and he's acting accordingly. It's a joke because I remember someone said it once that this was around the Conte Stellini time that Mason was talking to a family member. Like a family member was on one of these Twitter groups, and he said, "Yeah, see, Mason is my like Mason says he knows exactly what we're feeling. That he wishes he could change these things." And I remember I read that and I said, "Yeah, this guy is connected to us. You know, I believe he watches all these shows. He listens as much stuff as possible, and he just, you know." So I think he knows how bad the press is for Dyer at the moment and Lucas especially now as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think those two. I don't think those two will play for Tottenham till season's end, barring major injuries.
Right. So Longley, if he's fit, presumably will play that role,
Lovely.
right? And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
on the wing back, we'll probably have Davis, right?
Poro and Davis are wing
Poro
backs.
and
Yes.
Davis on the wing back roles, right? Okay. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Perisic will have to take his place on the bench again.
Yeah.
Okay. And then midfield to usual of Skip and Hoiberg.
Who else do we have?
Well, we got Sa, you know.
It's like. Did you ever see the joke Roy Keane made on where he was bantering Gary Neville? Gary Neville said, "Oh, I was the right back stalwart." He said, "You're the only right back we had. We had to play you." And I started thinking in my head, there really was no right back at Manchester United during his time.
Absolutely.
Now Skip and Hoiberg is all we have. What can we do as Spurs? Like, you just pray for Bisuma's injury to.
Back here, so hopefully he should hopefully play some parts in this match, depending on how things
Yeah,
go. Yeah, so
yeah, yeah, definitely.
got Bissouma back as well, but so, yeah, we'll see. But the front three more or less to select itself. But however,
I think
Danjuma
I
is not
think it's the
a
return
starter.
of Kulusevski.
Danjuma is not a
I think
starter. Yeah,
Danjuma is not a starter.
so
And I,
Kulusevski and Son,
I think
and
Kulusevski's son and Kane. Yeah,
okay, so Richarlison takes a place on the bench. So that's our
yeah.
predicted lineup. Tell us what you think. I would love to see what your starting lineup would look like on Common Use Plus TV. And yeah, scores. What do you think? Give us a predicted score for this match, Chuma. What would you give?
Well, I know Villa are good enough to score. They have their striker Ollie Watkins. He likes playing against Spurs. He's been quite prolific. I think, and it causes us a lot of problems, even in games they've lost. So I see Watkins probably scoring. So, but I see Spurs winning. I don't know why I see Spurs winning this game. So I'll go 2-1. If I'm sitting on the fence, I'd say a 1-1 draw or 2-1 to Spurs. But 2-1 to Spurs is my positive um,
You know what? You know me,
score.
don't you? I'm gonna go 3-1.
Optimist. Very positive.
I'm gonna go 3-1
Optimistic
Spurs.
optimist.
I'll go Richarlison to be on the score sheet again. So yes.
Oh, wow. He's even predicting goal scorers. Awesome. That's
Absolutely.
awesome. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
so
That
scratching on
is
the score
awesome.
sheet and Kane to extend his chase on Mr. Shearer's record, you know. So yeah, my prediction is that scorers will be Son, Richarlison, and Kane. Yes, so that's
I, 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 I would back you on Son because if Son comes back to playing off the shoulder, Tyrone Mings is one of those guys you can catch out. you know,
yeah,
him and whoever is playing next to him, if it's Konsa or whoever, Son has their number a bit. He scored a hat trick the last time, didn't he? I think
yeah.
Son has he's also scored that goal of the season against them as well. Yeah, Son has Aston Villa's number. So yeah, I think Son scoring. I'd back that. Yeah.
So guys, join us on the post-match live stream. We're going live from 5:45 after the match to sort of go back and look at the what's the word verdict, match highlights, and the key moments in the match. Yeah. So, but thank you so much for joining us, Chuma. It's been fantastic
Thank you.
having you. Yeah, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs. Nice.